this comes back into play, messes everything up, I don't want it.
American Chopper was once one of the biggest shows on TV until it was mysteriously canceled out of nowhere in 2010. But the truth about why it was canceled and what was really going on behind the scenes is pretty shocking. At the time of its cancellation, American Chopper had a tremendous audience of several million people watching every new episode. That's incredibly impressive. So you know the reason TLC decided to cancel the show had nothing to do with the low ratings, which is a common reason for a series to not get picked up for another season. To understand what was really happening, you need to go back to 2008 for some serious family drama. Paul Tutor Sr. confronted his son Paul Jr. about always being late to work. Paul Jr. didn't appreciate the allegations, and there was a loud father-son screaming match that quickly ensued. If you've ever seen the show before, you know these are pretty standard. But that's not where things ended. Paul Sr. fired him on the spot in front of all the employees, but more significantly, in front of the whole world watching. Despite the fiery drama, Paul Jr. returned to the show months later to fill in for a contractor. Sadly, that agreement didn't last for long and he left once again. This time, he left to start his own camp stove business in 2009, but things only got messier between the family members. Paul Sr. attempted to buy his son's shares in Orange County Choppers using his strong legal team. This sparked a legal battle that lasted until later in 2010, and there was more legal drama swirling around the business. Former staff member Cody Connolly, as well as the artist Justin Barnes, both sued the business alleging fraud and design copying. But TLC knew this process would be a while, and they weren't going to wait for all the legal dust to settle to make a decision. In February of 2010, the network officially announced the end of American Chopper. They never gave a real reason for the decision, but it's pretty obvious to anyone paying attention that the legal issues were the problem. You don't just cancel a huge hit that's relatively cheap to produce. It makes me wonder if maybe TLC was worried that they could be implicated in the lawsuits, and the best way to protect themselves was to move as far away from the drama surrounding the shop as possible. But weirdly enough, this wouldn't be the end for Paul Sr. and Paul Jr. on reality TV. Paul Jr.'s plans to have a business selling stoves didn't last long. He decided to pick up the family business of building professional choppers, only this time he wanted to do it without his family. Instead of returning to work with his father, he founded his own shop called Paul Jr. Designs. Now that there was a new business involved, TLC was once again interested. They were just as invested in this messy family as the viewers. TLC decided to include Paul Jr. and his new business in a brand new show. American Chopper Senior vs. Junior premiered August 2010. It was the first American Chopper spin-off to hit the air. The premise of the show had the father and son in competition with one another, creating choppers, but there was one clear condition, and it was pretty weird considering the premise of the show. The father and son would almost never interact with one another on the show. I guess when you have a multi-million-dollar legal battle happening off camera, you don't want to risk anything that might affect the case. Paul Sr. and Paul Jr. teamed up for a project in the fourth season, but their relationship was by no means fixed. The series was canceled in 2012, once again with very little explanation. But just like a bike that needs to be on the highway, American Chopper still needed more time on the air. The show's second spin-off, Orange County Choppers, premiered in early 2013 on CMT. The series abandoned Paul Jr. and focused solely on Paul Sr. and his business. The show only lasted until 2014. People just didn't want to tune in if there wasn't some family tension. Then in 2018, the unthinkable happened and American Chopper was revived on Discovery Channel. But what was most shocking to fans was that Paul Sr. and Paul Jr. had reconciled after 10 years of pretty much not being on speaking terms. While the father and son were still slowly rebuilding their relationship, they still weren't going to work together in the same shop on the show. Even if they did team up for a few projects, the revival only lasted 2 seasons until it was canceled in March of 2019. Fans once again didn't get a reason, but figured it had something to do with Paul Sr.'s legal problems. Although these problems had nothing to do with the son and were now centered around bankruptcy and other financial woes. American Chopper got one last send-off with a 2022 hour-long special titled The Last Ride. Father and son teamed up for a project, something that hadn't happened in years, but the name of the project said it all, and it looked like this would be it for the series. And when you hear what was happening behind the scenes all of those years, it's amazing they even made it this far. A major secret that they were hiding from viewers was that Paul Sr. had a massive drinking problem. His wife had pushed him to go to rehab, but his struggle with his substance is hereditary, and both his sons had to deal with the same issue. It was later revealed that Paul Jr. had already gone to rehab at the age of just 16, and the family saw some unthinkable tragedies. Not long after leaving Orange County Choppers, Paul Jr. had something truly awful happen to him. He called a repair company to fix a leak in his garage, but the repairman fell through the roof and was fatally injured instantly. I'm sure Paul Jr. couldn't help but think that if he was only able to get along with his dad and stick with the business, that repairman would still be alive. That's so sad. And the drama on camera led to more serious consequences within their family. When Paul Jr. married his wife Rachel Beester in 2010, Paul Sr. didn't show up to the wedding. Things are pretty bad when your own dad can't be there on your wedding day, and the legal problems extended far beyond just father and son. When Orange County Choppers created motorcycles that were wheelchair accessible in partnership with the Christopher and Dana Reeve Foundation, they got hit with another lawsuit. Christ Devantis claimed he gave the idea to the team 2 years prior, and the family drama wasn't just between Paul Jr. and Paul Sr. There was also Mikey, Paul Sr.'s other son. He used to serve as kind of the comic relief, but his role became sadder to fans who were paying attention. Mikey had to become a peacemaker between his father and brother, always putting him in the middle of their fighting. Eventually, this proved to be too difficult, and he had to exit the Orange County Customs crew. The good news is that Mikey seems to be doing better and opened his own art gallery that even sold some of his very own paintings. But there's some good news for Paul Jr. and Paul Sr. as well. The father and son were seen in a social media post where Paul Sr. is holding Paul Jr.'s son Hudson when he was just 3 weeks old. Hopefully, this can be the end of the father and son fighting, and they can move on with their love and positivity so Hudson doesn't have to grow up in a house full of yelling. I know one thing, that kid is going to be getting a seriously cool bicycle for his birthday as soon as he's old enough to ride. So what do you guys think? Should American Chopper get rebooted? Was Paul Jr. right to quit the show? What were your favorite custom bikes from the series? Let me know in the comments below.